So welcome everyone to this talk. My name is Nicholas. I am the CMO of Uptrust and Fight Club. This is an AI generated picture. I don't have a spaceship in my backyard. I live in a small apartment in Antwerp. First, I want to talk about the changing nature of media planning. What used to be is that companies, they started with a media plan. This is actually Q4. A lot of you are probably planning your next year, creating the media plan, thinking about which campaigns you will do, how much you will invest in your different layers. A lot of companies fix it and they are not able to change a lot of things during the year. What we say is that media plans are no longer static. You should start, of course, with an idea what your media plan will be, but then along the year you will experiment a lot and you will modify that media plan and take those insights from experimentations to become better. Of course, I'm not saying that we should not have this media plan and that we should not have an always-on strategy. Your always-on strategy and your performance layer is crucial because this makes sure that if people are looking for you, if they need you, if they want to find you, that you're there. So you need to still invest heavily in that always-on layer. These campaigns, they act as a foundation, but we see that's always repeating the same message over and over again. We'll see that it leads to diminishing results. So we cannot just keep on repeating the same campaigns. We need to iterate, we need to experiment and be better. There are still, of course, a lot of benefits of these always-on campaigns. Again, I think this is crucial to have this in place and to work with companies like Fight Club to have that performance layer optimized. Why? Because we want to have that base to capture interest. We want to make sure that if they look for us, that they capture us. But another thing that we want to do in our performance layer is that we want to serve and ride the moments. Example, if I'm selling flower pots, then I will see that at the end of or the beginning of summer, there will be a huge spike of people looking to buy these flower pots. Same in autumn, there will be people buying this. You will see you have these spikes. Then you need to have the processes in place to scale then your always-on layer and your performance to make sure you can capture that demand. But then there will be holes in here where you see like, okay, it's not the moment, people are not looking for it, and that's the moment to launch other big campaigns or maybe do a lot of experimentation and try out new things to capture that demand. What we see with companies that keep on doing the same kind of campaigns, start with a campaign, they saw, oh, this campaign worked well last year, I'm gonna repeat it. We see that they have diminishing results. So we see that almost every campaign that you run indefinitely will trend to zero. So it's needed to make sure that you refresh your things and that you try to beat the law of diminishing results. What do I mean with that? We need to have continuous testing. So we're not just going to test to make sure that our costs for delivering these ads decrease, but we really want to steer these experiments to make sure that our cost per acquisition decreases, so that we're paying less to get a new customer in, and that our ROAS increases. So really end of the funnel optimization for our experiments. And next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to do a lot of A/B testing and multivariate testing. The difference is that with A/B testing, we're just going to test two different variants. With multivariate testing, we're even going to test more things parallel to each other to quickly learn what works and what doesn't. To then see that with all those experiments, we can find new things, we can find other opportunities that we hadn't thought of before. But what I love to say today is that experimentation fuels innovation. And I don't want you to think of experimentation of just experimenting a tiny bit with copy, a tiny bit of what you're going to do in your Google Ads or your always-on layer. I want you to test radically different things. I want you to dare to test new value propositions, completely new channels, completely new messaging. Try to do something bold. And then you will see this is things that really move the needle and that have a huge, huge impact. I brought a couple of cases with me today to show some results of things where clients were daring enough to do completely radical different things and what the results were. We saw for this client that there was a decrease in the click-through rate, so less people were clicking on the ads. And we asked them, like, can we change a lot of things? We want to change some ads, the keywords, we want to change a lot of the copy. And then we saw a nice increase there in the click-through rate. Next ones are even more specific. What we saw here is that this company, they've been using the same copy for the last years. So they saw, yes, we had a nice agency that helped us, we set this up, it was working. But then, yeah, they started decreasing. We looked at it with a pair of fresh eyes and we said, like, look, actually there's a lot of stuff missing. Your value proposition is maybe not there. Stuff that's on your website is not visible in your ad copy. And we we said to them, let's try completely new ad copy. And this is also a place where AI can help you. What I often do with customers is that I do the jobs to be done canvas. Maybe some of you guys know that. Do that exercise with the team. Feed that together with all your website information to a ChatGPT or another generative AI model, and then ask to generate this copy for you. And then you will see that it will generate copy that you haven't thought of before. I'm not saying that you should one-on-one take that copy ideas, but that you should take that as inspiration to see which kind of angles that I didn't think about were missing and that I should add now in my ad copy. You see, we did this here, and it was really a very nice increase that we saw in the performance. This one was even bigger. Like I said previously, we've done a lot of changes when setting up these ads. Here we saw people are clicking, but there's then an issue when they land on a landing page. That's also experimentation. Dare to make something completely different. Have another landing page where I love to have the link between the search term that people typed in, the ad copy that I'm actually using, or that's in my ad, and then the page that people land on. It should almost be repeating each other so that people feel I'm on the right place, this is where I need to be. We did the change where this was their standard page that was allowed within their environment that they had. We created something different, and we saw an increase of 15% conversion rate. And it's not even so drastical, the change that we did. But that kind of small changes in experimentation could have huge, huge impact. Final thing that I want to show is this success case. This was a client that came to us. They've been running the same ad account for a long time. They've done some keyword research. They were advertising on 341 keywords, which is already maybe a lot of keywords for some people. But then we did some new research, new keyword research. Because people intents change. The way that people search on Google change. Maybe now they have different problems, different ways to type in the keywords, different things that they want to be helped with. We did new keyword research. We added these keywords to the campaign, optimized the campaign. We went from 341 to 622 keywords. Then you could say, yeah, Nicholas, then it's logical that you have more clicks because you're showing it to more people. But in the end, we also measured what the impact was on our conversion rate, and we had 324% increase in conversion rate. By just starting again, investigating what changed, what is now the search intent, what should we be available with, and then we had those beautiful new campaigns. Just to show you that experimentation is crucial and not something that you can neglect and that you should not invest in. But how do we now balance experimentation on one hand and our always-on layer, our performance layer, our media plan on the other hand? I love to implement this kind of structure at companies, where we have a 60-40 split. That means that 60% of your budgets should still be invested in your baseline media plan. So the things that you know that work, the campaigns that you planned beforehand, all the things that you need to be present. But then I want you to invest 40% of your time and resources in your experimentation layer. To try out drastically new things, new channels, new kind of value propositions, whatever that you can think of, dare to be different, and make sure that it's not just the budget that you allocate, but also the people. Because a lot of people, they're change resilient. They want to keep on doing the same things. They know that these things work. So yes, of course, we need to set that up first. Block 40% of their time in their agenda so they have time to do these things, try out new things, and I promise you, you will see a beautiful impact on your experimentation. Maybe you're thinking, yeah, Nicholas, very nice, all that theory about experimentation, but how can I easily start implementing that within my organization? Well, I have a couple of slides for you that can inspire you to do that. What we love doing at Uptrust is that we start with thinking about the problems. We have our deal breakers canvas where we want everyone within your team, ideally the people that are customer focused, to think negatively. What are all the negative things that happen when people interact with our brand? What are all the reasons why they don't know that we exist? Then I want you that they all think about what are the reasons when they know that we exist that they don't choose to go for us. Next step, they're using your product, but they stop using it. And last phase, they use your product, but they don't talk about you. Do this exercise with your entire team. Have a lot of ideas, be as negative as you can, write these all down, and then prioritize. Pick the top 5 problems that you think if we would be able to solve these, our business will grow. And that are your first 5 experiments. You will brainstorm then the solutions to these problems within your growth marketing canvas, write these then all down, have a huge list at that point, but then realize some ideas will be better than others. And you have different ways of prioritizing these ideas, but my favorite idea, or favorite way to prioritize is the ICE framework. Give it a score out of 5 on impact. What is the potential impact that this idea will work? How certain are we that it will work? And how easy is it to implement? Taking into account time to set it up, resources, and availability of your people, of course. Score it out of 5, multiply these numbers together, and then you have an objective way to see what works and what doesn't. Small tip, if you're rolling this out in a team and you want to do this scoring within your team, what I love doing is that I just count down, say 3, 2, 1, and everyone from my team needs to throw fingers, all at the same time. So then it becomes like a group exercise to prioritize this, and everyone is involved, and you get an objective way of scoring it. Of course, if you see that your issue is top of the funnel, attracting people in your funnel and making sure that they know you exist, you should first take the experiments that are very top of the funnel. If the problem is more, they're on my website and then don't convert, you will pick those experiments first. If we have that long list, we will have this in a nice overview, we will prioritize them, give them the score. Then I want you to shortlist and select a couple of experiments. A big mistake that a lot of companies make is that they want to do too many experiments at the same time. And then experiment burnout happens. They do too much, and then when we ask them, what were now the results of your experiments? What happened? Actually, I don't know. We didn't have time to analyze it, and I didn't know if it was a success or not. That's a situation you don't want to be in. I rather have you to pick 2 experiments that you run every 2 weeks, but be able to do this consistently for months, for years, and so on. And then being able to analyze and see what works and what doesn't. And when you do these experiments, I want you to document them. Write down why you do this, what is your hypothesis, how did it work, what did we learn, and then you're able to not only look back at this, but the moment that you will scale your marketing team, you can ask that person to read through these experiment sheets the first couple of days to know what did we try, what did work, what didn't work, and then learn a lot. If you still feel like, yeah, Nicholas, very theoretical, I don't really see how we can do this, it's really about all these channels, I have an even simpler slide for you. You come home tonight, you open up your ad accounts, and you're gonna have a look what's in there. If you see that your CPM is too high, CPM means my cost per 1,000 impressions, how much am I paying to deliver my ads to my audiences? Then it means that you need to come up with experiments where you find new channels, that you try out completely new channels. Probably your audience migrated, they probably went to other channels. There's probably maybe also a lot more competition, it becomes more expensive. Try out new channels, try out new targeting. There's also a lot of AI targeting functionality in all those new channels. We'll talk way more about all of that later today, but there's a problem with your delivery. That's an experiment should be focused on that. If you see, okay, my CPM is fine, I can reach my audience for a decent price, let's look at your click-through rate. Click-through rate is what is the percentage of people that click on my ads. If that is low, you have a problem with your creative. You have a problem with everything, the copy that you wrote down, maybe with the visuals that you've been using. You need to start iterating on those. And then you need to dare to be different, try different things out, implement those and see what could work, what wouldn't work. If you're thinking, okay, I don't know if I have a good click-through rate or not, we know what a good click-through rate for your industry would be. So during the break, feel free to come talk to Estelle, to Emily, to me, and we can help you out and see this is a good click-through rate for your industry. So CPM is okay, click-through rate is okay, we move to the next phase. You see people go to my website, but they actually don't do anything on my website. They immediately leave. So what we say there is that your engaged visits are low. People don't engage, they don't stay, they don't do anything. What your focus then should be is that you should focus on implementing new landing pages or increasing your landing pages. And I know that for bigger companies that are present here today, that might not be easy because you need to do things within the platform of your website. It's a very heavy IT project. It will be very difficult to do that. At that moment, you need to try to ask if you could use landing page builders. Like use an external tool that marketing can manage to try out to build these landing pages. And if you're then able to build landing pages that are really converting, that work really well, that are tied into your ad campaigns, then you can take those insights, brief them back to your development team, and then they can implement that in the website, the same kind of concept. But if you always have to wait then for your development team to update the landing pages based on the experiments you've done, you're not going to go quick enough. So that's a quick tip. Try to work with those landing page builders, implement that on your landing pages and make them better. Increase the time they stay on there and make it more relevant for them. Next thing you see, they come on your page, but the conversion rate is low. Yeah, then there is a problem with the value that you're offering. Maybe people saw your ads, they searched for something, your ad was good, they were engaged, they come to your website, and actually the thing you're offering on your landing page is not valuable enough for them. They don't convert. They read, but they don't convert. Then you need to think about, okay, what do I need to change? How can I change the value proposition so that they want to convert? Last, you have conversions, but they're too expensive. That's also not an ideal situation to be in. At that point, you need to reevaluate your entire full funnel. What I mean with that is that marketing is a battle for attention. And you need to introduce multiple touch points along the way to influence your end consumer. So with that, you will think, okay, how can I be present on other channels? How can I integrate more touch points? How can I maybe implement retargeting to make sure that that client eventually will convert, to then make sure that your CPA will drop? So this is a bit of an overview if you come home tonight. I saw a lot of people taking pictures, very nice. Very curious to see what you will do with them then tonight. But you will also get the slides afterwards, so then you can see all of this as well. If you want to get started with experimentation within your organization, and you're not a small company, you're more of a bigger company where there's a bit of management that needs to be influenced, then there are a couple phases that you will need to go through. First phase is the getting started phase. In the getting started phase, you find some people within your organization that are very interested in experimenting, that really always want to try out the new things. You bring them together and you start with a POC, a proof of concept, where you just do a couple of experiments, you try these out, and then see what happens. You will convince your management because you will say, yeah, I heard today in a talk that if I stay on the same channel, you have the law of diminishing results, it will go down, I will need to pay more. So you make sure that you're already prepared for the future where your campaigns might not work well. So you have that small team that's already looking for the next channel, that's looking for other opportunities where you could be better, where it could be cheaper, and you could then increase your cost efficiency because you find other channels where you're better. First phase, just a small POC, try it out. What you then want to do is that you want to give the spotlight to the people that were in that POC phase. And you want them to raise awareness within the entire organization. You want them to present their results to other people to show this is how the growth experiments work, this is how it was. But at that point, there will be a lot of chaos. And chaos is good in the beginning, but chaos is not sustainable for that growth in the end. So this is the phase where we're going to implement processes. We're going to have our bi-weekly growth sprints. We're going to make sure that we have a way to document our experiments. We're going to make sure there's clear standards, clear processes, so that we cannot just go for those spikes in experiments, but that all those small experiments, they lead to that beautiful exponential growth that we're all looking for. What you will say here to your management is, yes, we're not just going for some small changes, we're going for a long-term competitive advantage. There are enough studies that show that companies that experiment faster grow faster as well. Third phase, you're now going to a lot of teams within your bigger marketing department are trying this out. They see it's successful. Now we need to roll it out over the entire marketing department or even the entire company. Here we really need to make sure that C-suite is involved, that they know how good this experimentation is. And we want to make sure that this becomes part of our DNA, that this becomes part of the way that people work, that they always have that experimentation mindset in there. And then the final stage, that's the stage where you eventually want to lead to, is that your actually experimentation is in your DNA, it's in your blood. You have that culture of innovation, but what you need to do there is to make sure that your people keep on learning. I've talked to CMOs yesterday about generative AI, where they then said, yes, I love the technology, but actually from the 4 people in my team, only 1 person is able to use it and is very effective with that. That will happen in the future as well. Technologies, marketing, it's evolving so quickly that if you don't keep upskilling your team, a lot of them will lag behind and will not be able to be on that same pace and be as efficient as you want them to be. So even in a culture where there's a lot of experimentation, take time so that people that did a successful experiment can teach to the others what worked and that you give them time to learn about all the new things. How can now AI support you in this process? Because we've dropped the AI word a lot already today. There will be a lot more talk about AI as well, but how can it help you? First thing is that it can help you in your creative process. I already mentioned before that I love doing a workshop with people physical in the room. I then index all the brainstorm things or the post-its in a Google Sheet, push it to an AI, let them analyze it and use those results to then brainstorm ideas. Love doing that. I also love just talking to ChatGPT, bounce off ideas, all these things to make sure that the creative juices start flowing and that you come up with new ideas. Definitely help you there. But another thing that you can use is that use it for fast prototyping of your creative assets. There will be an amazing talk by Sam later where we'll talk about fast content, on how AI and fast content can help you to validate ideas before you do the big billboard campaign, spending 10,000s of euros of printing some big things. But then with this AI and this fast content, you can first validate those concepts without you're going to roll them out bigger. And then finally, we see that AI can help us optimize performance marketing. We'll talk a lot in the Google talk about how these AI features built in those specific tools can optimize the way that ads are delivered, the way that people click on it, and how much we will then eventually have to pay. Of course, there are a couple of pitfalls. People starting out with experimentation and combining always on an experimentation. This is the most common ones that we see. First one is the lack of resources. That's one, yeah, you want them to have that 40% of their time to spend on experimentation. But in practice, you will see that there's a mail coming in that we still need to do that, and we need to make the calendar for next year, and we still need to prepare that event. And at the end, there are not enough resources left for experimentation. Really be sure that you have enough time for your people to work on that and experiment, and that it's really part of your culture. Next thing is unstructured experimentation. And unstructured experimentation is fun in the beginning because there needs to be chaos, but you need to have a structure to be able to learn from your failures. Like Emily said in our marketing pulse, around 25% of your experiments should be successful. That's not a lot. That's 75% that fails. But that 75% failure are an opportunity to learn. But I want you to learn at least something about the audience that you were targeting, the channels that you were using, or the messaging/value proposition that you used. And if you learn something out of one of these three aspects, then your next experiments will be more successful. You cannot do that if you don't have a good process in place where at the beginning of every growth meeting, you take the time to analyze your previous experiments. And then finally, don't ignore failure, embrace failure, make sure that people want to try out new things. If you have too many successes, you're not being bold enough, you're just doing things that should actually already be in your always on layer. So try to be different, try to really do radically different things. To sum up, what is the takeaway for you guys for today? Experimentation is really key to stay relevant. We saw that law of diminishing results. Everything will trend to zero if we don't keep on experimenting, try out these new things. So we need to have that as part of our always-on strategy, performance strategies, everything that we have in place. We see that AI will take a bigger role in marketing. We see that these small-scale tests will be very crucial to define your long-term strategy. Things move fast, audiences change to other channels. We need to have these small-scale tests to find out what is now actually working, what is moving the needle. Take those insights, put them in your always-on strategy, in your baseline media plan. It will be crucial to be successful in the future. Continuous learning, super important. Everything is moving so quickly, so please invest in time for your people that they can try out new things, that they can learn things, that they can teach each other what works and what doesn't, because it will be crucial in the future as well. And then finally, I want to end the way that I started. Your media plan shouldn't be set in stone. Please allow some flexibility in your media plan. If you see at the beginning of the year that the time that you spent in experimentation is showing that TikTok or Pinterest or Twitch or whatever is a very promising channel for you, then make sure that you have the flexibility in your media plans for Q2 or Q3 to shift those channels and put more attention in those different ones. That was it for my talk. So thank you very much for your attention, and I hope this was interesting.